Okay. Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh my goodness, it's early still. My name is Eric Ward, and before I tell you about myself, let me tell you about where I'm, about who I'm from. First off, I'd like to say to all the ladies, raise your hands. Ladies, raise your hands. Gentlemen, could you please applaud these ladies? Now I feel better. Okay, so I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a San Francisco native, born and bred, spent my whole work life here, and yeah, I'm a local boy. My grandmother lived at 1402 Golden Gate, right up on this corner, and I used to run down this street all the time, right by here, to get a peppermint patty at the corner store all the time. So I know where I am, and it's great to be back. My great-grandfather was a bit of a unicorn, meaning that all I knew of him was vague descriptions and distant memories, known only to me as Father Briley, a minister who traveled the South in the late 19th century, and whose skin was so fair that he could pass for white. The only vision I ever saw of him was a faded portrait that sat beside my great-grandmother's chair for the rest of his life, for the rest of her life. And if you wonder what my great-grandfather might have looked like, basically if Steph Curry and Colonel Sanders had a baby, that was him. My grandfather, Henry King, worked alongside his brother, washing cabs at the Yellow Cab Company here in San Francisco for 30 years. He was not my paternal grandfather, but who cares? He was a wonderful, strong, and gentle person who taught me how to tie my shoes and shake hands like a man, and advised me to always keep $20 or $30 in your pocket, boy, because you never know when you might be walking down Market Street and meet a nice girl and want to buy her a piece of chicken. My father, Tory Ward, came to San Francisco as part of the Great Southern Migration, seeking work. He was 55 when I was born. Apparently, he was living 55 strong, as this was decades before Viagra or any testosterone supplements. He had a 6th grade education which left his edges rough and his language common and straightforward. I loved my father. My parents were forced apart, long story, when I was an infant, and though my mother and father never lived more than a mile apart for the rest of their lives, I never saw them in photo or reality standing side by side. I collected the usual things as a young man: Star Wars bubblegum cards, comic books, toys, and such, all coming and passing from my possession at a normal rate. But my passion was collecting music scores from movies. Unfortunately, my mother died of lung cancer as I was preparing to graduate from high school, leaving me on my own at 17. And my music collection grew. My father, in failing health and heartbroken by the passing of my mother, died the following year, and my music collection grew. My collections began to vary as I grew into adulthood, moving from a now massive movie music collection, and onto toys, books, newspaper clippings, and a vast variety of unique items that I might need later. Working at the San Francisco Chronicle, I began collecting papers, then transitioned to clothes and performance wear in an attempt to make items unitarian. I realized I had a hoarding issue when I had my own place, and no one to tell me it was too much. This was around the time Bill Clinton was elected. I believe my hoarding was triggered around the time my mother died at 17. And at a rate of 1 per year, all of my adult familiar support died as well. Aunts, uncles, grandparents, etc. My older siblings did not understand what I was feeling and how I was processing this loss. And in processing their own grief, they grew uninterested and unsupportive of me. Since they were not directly communicating with me and I had no interest in my perspective, I started collecting things and withdrew to fill the emotional void. Later, when I lost my place, I was forced to purge a lot of my items and became aware exactly how oppressive my habit had become. I've been able to let a lot of them go. However, it is a long-term process for me. I now collect photographs on my phone and have been able to let go of many of my physical items. And now just me speaking to you, we all have problems. We all have something. There's something bothering all of us. And we have all dealt with it with varying degrees of success. Some drugs, women, whatever. Pursuit of money is now an addiction. But I just want to say to you that if we keep coming together in groups like this and speaking to each other face to face and shaking hands like my grandfather taught us to, and looking at each other's eyes, and respecting each other, and seeing each other, and valuing each other, there's nothing that we cannot defeat together. Thank you very much.